The whole evening was filled with laughter and cheerful stories. Around a massive wooden table in the spacious hall of an old boarding house sat a friendly company. Yulia settled next to Andrey and her husband. They had arrived a bit late for dinner. Directly across from them sat Artyom, a new employee at the company. Formally, this event was a corporate picnic for the firm where Yulia worked, and after a day of rest in nature, everyone was supposed to return to the city the next day. Andrey knew his wife was a beautiful and successful woman. They had good jobs, 2 wonderful sons aged 13 and 14, and, seemingly, a life that flowed steadily, full of happiness. Yet, in the past few weeks, Yulia had grown somewhat withdrawn, as though something was troubling her. He tried to talk to her, but she avoided the subject. She had told him about the picnic just one day before the trip, and Andrey had agreed without hesitation, arranging things so their sons could stay with Yulia's parents outside the city. Still, he sensed that his wife wasn't particularly happy he was coming along, though she said nothing aloud. In the bus, Andrey had only briefly encountered Artyom before, at New Year's corporate parties, where the young man always kept to himself. Upon arrival, everyone settled into their rooms, and soon Yulia went outside. After hesitating a little, Andrey followed her and found her on the open veranda, chatting animatedly with the young man, smiling and nodding in response. Andrey tensed, feeling an unpleasant premonition. At that moment, a young female colleague stopped beside him. "Are they having an affair?" Andrey asked quietly, meaning Yulia and Artyom. "No real affair." "Not yet," the woman smiled faintly. "But the tension is straight out of Shakespeare. Even though they're both taken, it's still only at the level of flirtation. You can understand him, though. She's in charge of approving his documents, and she keeps making corrections." "And who's his wife?" Andrey asked. "Larissa. She works at another company. I've seen her a couple of times. A nice woman. Anyway, I should go. My husband's waiting," she added with a soft chuckle. "And you are?" "Katya. But I'm married," she smiled. "Nice to meet you. I'm Andrey, also not available," he replied calmly, concealing his inner tension. After hearing that, Andrey realized where this trip could lead if he hadn't come with Yulia. From that moment on, he didn't leave her side, despite her obvious, though unspoken, irritation. As the evening went on, conversations and laughter filled the hall, but a certain tension still hung in the air. Looking at the abundance of alcohol, Yulia smiled and said, "Andrey, tonight you can drink as much as you want, to delirium tremens if you like. I won't stop you, but once we're home, forget about it." "With pleasure, dear. I'll drink all I can," Andrey replied with a slight grin. Despite the joking tone, he caught the hidden meaning. Perhaps Yulia wanted him distracted or drunk so she could take advantage of the situation. According to Artyom, he was staying in room 1 on the 2nd floor. Andrey watched as Yulia and Artyom began discussing work at the same table. Seizing the moment, Andrey joined the conversation. He and Yulia had graduated from the same university. Artyom claimed he had too, though much later. But after a few indirect questions about professors, Andrey realized that Artyom had never studied there. Andrey still kept in touch with his alma mater and knew all the faculty, both current and former. His suspicions only deepened. Music started playing, laughter rang out. Artyom went to adjust the speakers, fiddling with the wires. Soon after, the sound cut off. Within an hour, guests began dispersing to their rooms. With mild irony, Yulia turned to her husband. "So, shall we go? I'll walk you to the room. I can see you can hardly stand." "I'll help you," offered Artyom, rising from his seat. But Andrey, in a perfectly steady voice, replied, "No need. I can walk just fine. I'm not drunk." "Are you sure?" Yulia raised an eyebrow. "Of course. What? You think you'll have to carry me?" he smirked. "I'm completely sober." "Strange. You drank so much," Yulia said, shaking her head. After a few more minutes, Artyom left for his room, and Andrey and Yulia went to theirs. They went to bed, but Andrey couldn't fall asleep. When Yulia quietly got up, put on her robe, and headed for the door, he asked, "Where are you going?" "Can't sleep," she answered, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Me neither. I'll get some fresh air," he said, putting on his tracksuit and following her. Outside, on the porch, Artyom was sitting and smoking. When he saw Yulia, he brightened, but his expression faded quickly when Andrey appeared behind her. "Can't sleep either?" Andrey asked calmly. Just decided to have a cigarette before bed. Artyom muttered awkwardly. Smoking's bad for you. You know, Andrey said with a cold smile. I know, but I don't smoke often. Only good cigarettes. Good ones. Not sure those exist. They all kill, slowly but surely, Andrey said. By the way, why didn't you bring Larissa? Larissa? Artyom blinked in surprise. Yes, your wife, Andrey continued, smiling. She would have liked it here. From Yulia's reaction, it was clear she didn't know Artyom was married. Andrey didn't stop there. Many people brought their kids here too. We should have brought ours, but we sent them to their grandparents. Where did you send yours? They went to the seaside with my wife and her parents, Artyom said stiffly. Anyway, I'm done smoking. Good night, he added quickly and walked away. Andrey and Yulia lingered outside for a while before returning to their room. Later, Yulia fell asleep, lulled by the cool night air. She woke up to Andrey gently stroking her hair. What are you doing? She murmured sleepily. People are already up and walking outside. Breakfast soon. Time to get up, he said with a soft smile. You're ready already? She asked, stretching. As you see, washed and packed. We're heading home today. The time before departure passed quickly. Andrey stayed close to Yulia, unwilling to let her out of his sight. Finally, everyone loaded into the bus and started back to the city. When the bus passed by Yulia's parents' house, where their children were staying, Katya, sitting ahead with her husband, glanced back at Andrey and bit her lip, realizing whom she had told the gossip about Yulia and Artyom. In the yard stood their Toyota with its high clearance, ready for country roads. After hugs with the grandparents and short stories about the trip, they drove home. At home, Yulia started cooking dinner while Andrey and the boys worked on their small projects together, absorbed in what they were doing. When Yulia called everyone to the table, she reminded them to wash their hands first. Grandma went to the market this morning, said the elder son as they sat down, and brought some fresh mushrooms. She fried them and said there are lots of mushrooms in the forest now. You ate them? Yulia asked in surprise. Yeah, they were really tasty. We need to call my mom and tell her not to give the kids mushrooms again, Andrey said seriously. It's dangerous. Oh, come on. Yulia waved it off. They're grown enough. Dad, can we go to Grandma's in the village and pick mushrooms too? Asked the younger boy. Why not? It's only 7 in the evening. If we get ready quickly, we'll be there by 10. Tomorrow morning, we'll go to the forest. Andrey, you have work tomorrow, Yulia reminded him. And in 10 days, vacation, Andrey countered calmly. I remember, but I've accumulated a week of days off, he said, thinking of his boss, with whom he had a friendly relationship. Then, after a brief pause, he called out, Run. Sasha, Vovka, get ready. We're going to Grandma's village for a week. You know what to pack. Can we take the fishing rods? The younger son asked excitedly. Of course, take them, Andrey smiled. You know what else you'll need. The children, thrilled, ran off to their room to start packing. Andrey poked at his salad with a fork, then suddenly looked up and said, Yulia, I'm not a child. I understand everything perfectly. You like Artyom. On that trip, I was like a thorn in your side. Everything you two planned fell apart because of me. Yulia froze, stunned by his words, but quickly pulled herself together. Andrey, are you serious? You're jealous of Artyom? That's ridiculous. How could you even think such a thing? Don't say anything, Yulia, Andrey interrupted her, his voice calm but cold. You'll regret your words later. I don't even need proof. For me, it's an axiom. I know that because I was there, nothing happened between you two. But I'm not going to play the warden anymore. My trust is gone. I just don't believe you. How could you even think that? What's gotten into you? Yulia stared at him wide-eyed. Nothing's gotten into me. I understood everything back at the picnic. We'll return with the kids in a week. What happens next depends on you. I need to believe in your sincerity. Andrey, what proof do you have? What are these accusations even based on? Yulia, the proof matters to you, not to me. You're the one who has to decide. Do we still matter to each other, or is Artyom more important to you? I haven't made my final decision yet, but the disrespect you showed me at that picnic, I'm still processing it. You'll hear my final answer when I bring the children back. And one more thing. If your beloved sets foot in this apartment while I'm away, I won't let it slide. At that moment, Sasha burst into the kitchen, cheerfully announcing, We're ready to go. Andrey calmly set his fork down, stood up, and silently left the room. Quickly gathering his papers, tracksuit, and slippers, he left the apartment without saying goodbye. Yulia was left alone in the empty flat. She understood Andrey was right. The whole trip had been more about being around Artyom. She had sincerely hoped Andrey would refuse to go. He'd always disliked such events, calling them a waste of time and even harmful for the team. Artyom had seemed pleasant, and since joining the office, they had developed an easy, friendly rapport. They often discussed work matters, and his jokes made her smile. Though, as she later realized, he sometimes lacked professional competence and mixed up even basic concepts. Now, Andrey had given her an ultimatum. She couldn't imagine life without him. She knew he had no proof of infidelity, but also realized he didn't need any. How could she fix this? Artyom wasn't what she wanted. Their little flirtation during the picnic was fleeting, nothing serious. When she'd found out he'd booked a separate room, she'd even felt relieved that everything had fallen apart. Yulia knew that in their mostly female office, gossip spread fast. She didn't want to give anyone reason to talk. After Andrey and the kids left, she stayed home alone, washed the dishes, and stood in front of the mirror, lost in thought about her marriage. Losing Andrey was not an option. If there was even a small chance to save their relationship, she intended to use it. Meanwhile, Andrey and the boys, along with buckets and baskets, loaded everything into the car. Andrey's father, Ignat, went with them. The forest paths were untouched and fresh, and the boys eagerly explored them. This village, where Andrey's parents lived, was like a second home for them. They came here often. The local woods always offered a rich harvest of mushrooms, which Ignat immediately pointed out. This year's good for mushrooms. These places are so wild city folk never get here. Why not? Don't they know the way? Sasha asked. They do, but they're afraid of snakes. Plenty of them around here. Ignat winked. Even harmless ones scare them. Though to be fair, there are vipers too. Look, there's one basking in the sun. Seeing the snake, Sasha and Vovka dashed toward it, but Ignat's strict voice stopped them. Hey, where are you two going? To catch it. We were going to take it home. To the city. Now, what have I taught you about the forest? Not to touch snakes, hedgehogs, or hurt wolves or bears, the boys chorused. Exactly. But do you really think you could handle a wolf or a bear? No, of course not. We wouldn't hurt them. Sasha protested. And that a viper's bite is deadly. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Maybe we could at least catch a grass snake? No catching anything, Ignat said firmly. Just look, but don't get close. Sensing danger, the snake slipped into the bushes, and they continued their walk safely home. At the house, Marina Osipovna, Andrey's mother, exclaimed, Oh Lord, it'll take me till morning to clean all these mushrooms. Don't worry, Mom, we'll help. We'll all sit together in the yard and clean them, Andrey reassured her. And indeed, the whole family, with the help of a few neighbor women, including Matryona, who came to admire the harvest, got to work, sorting, drying, and marinating the mushrooms. Despite the busy work, everyone managed to take turns eating lunch, turning the whole process into a warm, family moment. By around 7 in the evening, Matryona was still bustling around the kitchen when, about 10 minutes after the last bus from town arrived, the gate creaked open and Yulia entered. She greeted everyone politely and asked, Where's Andrey? And the boys? They went to the club, Marina answered, wiping her hands on her apron. I thought they'd gone to bed, but our club director came by, found out Andrey was here, and asked him to look at their sound system. He used to fix it all the time when he lived here before college. It's ancient, probably from the Stone Age. And the director's sister came too, visiting from out of town, she added with a knowing smile. So go, dear, join them. Unwind a little. When Yulia reached the club, loud music was already playing. Andrey had clearly fixed everything. She stepped inside and headed toward the dance hall. Inside, young people and a few adults were dancing. On the floor, slow melodies spun the couples, and among them, Yulia saw Andrey, dancing with a familiar woman. She was slender, petite, in a sporty t-shirt and light jeans. Andrey, wearing an old shirt long relegated to the village, still looked striking in it. Together, they were the most beautiful pair on the floor. Yulia felt anger and jealousy boiling inside her, though she didn't show it outwardly. Andrey noticed her, but pretended not to. Their sons ran up, excitedly calling, Mom, come dance with us. But she declined, unable to summon the strength. The music stopped. Andrey bowed to his dance partner and went to turn off the equipment. The evening was coming to an end. The club director announced, "That's it for tonight. We'll meet again on Wednesday." "See you then," Andrey replied warmly. Then he approached Yulia, who was standing with their sons, listening to them animatedly describe how they'd chased a snake that morning. He greeted his wife quietly. "Hi, what happened?" Yulia looked at him with a sting of bitterness. "Nothing. It's just, I came to see my husband, and he's already here, dancing with someone he's just met." Yulia's tone was sharp. "I didn't meet anyone," Andrey replied gloomily. "I was dancing with Alessia. We went to the same school. She's from my hometown. That's all." "Well, you two looked very cozy together." "I don't know how it looked from the outside," Andrey said calmly, "but I take my wedding vows seriously, and I've always honored them. There wasn't even a hint of flirting. I would never do what you did. But this Friday, I'll get all the answers I need, and after that, I'll consider myself free from those vows." "Andrey," Yulia said anxiously, feeling the ground slip away beneath her feet. "There was nothing between me and Artyom. If there had been something more between you and him," Andrey said quietly, "we wouldn't be talking right now." His voice was calm, but there was bitterness in it. "You betrayed me. And he'll go back to his wife, his kids will return from vacation, and his life will go on happily. But you'll be left sitting among the ruins of our marriage, waiting for him to show up." "Can I say something?" Yulia asked. "Yes, but not now," Andrey interrupted her. "And only if you're ready to tell the truth. I'll sense any lie or false note instantly, and I don't want that. Besides, we're home already. We'll talk after dinner. I haven't told my parents or the kids anything yet. They had dinner as usual." Afterward, when the children had gone to bed and were fast asleep, Andrey's mother finished cleaning the kitchen. Yulia helped her, trying to appear calm. When everything was done, Andrey's mother wished everyone good night and went to her room. Yulia and Andrey stayed in the kitchen alone. "So," Andrey asked quietly. "I don't want to wait until Friday," Yulia replied softly. "Let's talk now. What about your job?" His voice was cold and distant. "I took a few days off, then a vacation. I planned to quit after that," she said, looking straight into his eyes, forcing herself not to look away. "But let me start from the beginning. I won't hide anything. Yes, I liked Artyom. He was charming, flirted gracefully, and I got carried away. I noticed his professional skills weren't great, and when you spoke with him at the table, I realized he hadn't studied at our university. Later I found out he hid the fact that he had a wife and kids. But none of that matters now. What matters is that after you left, I looked at my life from the outside and saw what a terrible mistake I'd made. I realized how much I love you, how much I can't lose you. I want to live my life with you. I want to grow old with you." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I don't know how believable this sounds, but it's the truth. What I did was stupid and wrong. There's no excuse for it, but I truly want to make things right. I'm ready to do whatever you say. I've learned my lesson. Please, give me a chance to save our family. I'll do everything to regain your trust. I promise you'll never regret it." "Did you and Artyom plan anything during that picnic?" Andrey asked tensely. "No," she said quickly. "Our relationship never went that far. If you hadn't been there, though, maybe it would have. I think your presence kept him from crossing the line. He wasn't happy about it, of course." She sighed, then continued. "Today, I disappointed him even more. I didn't sign a single document. Everything needed to be redone, and I refused to deal with it. I wrote a formal report, attached requests for time off, vacation, and resignation, and gave them to the CEO. Everything was signed except the resignation. The director called me in, asked what happened, and said he'd check where Artyom studied, since the man doesn't even know basic things. On my way here, my coworker Katya called and said Artyom had submitted his own resignation and left without waiting for his final paycheck. All his cases were reassigned to her. Did he try to contact you?" "Yes. He called several times, but I didn't answer. There's nothing left to say. I came here," she added, "because I didn't want to wait for you to come home. I wanted to confess everything myself. Now, everything's in your hands." Andrey looked at her, thinking for a while, then said quietly, "Tomorrow morning, I'm taking the kids fishing. I promised them. You can come if you want. But now it's late. Let's go to bed." Time passed, and somehow, Yulia and Andrey managed to save their marriage, though the road was not easy. Andrey didn't believe her right away, but in time, he had no more doubts about her loyalty. Still, the memory of that evening, her strong, handsome husband dancing with a delicate, graceful woman to loud music, remained burned into Yulia's mind, a reminder of how easy it is to lose everything. As for Artyom, after his resignation, he vanished. His fate remained unknown for a long time. Eventually, it was learned that his wife had filed a missing person report, and a year and a half later, she divorced him. Artyom was declared legally missing by the court. It also turned out he had never studied at any university and had once worked as a construction laborer.